Throughout the centuries, many great yogis and teachers and philosophers and later on modern scholars tried to uncover the essence of the Yoga Sutra. When we see the second sutra, Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha, which means basically the yoga is transcending the activity, the fluctuations of the mind. And Nirodha, some people say stopping or restraining, or just interpreting it with a very strainful practice. So many of these teachers come up with many different kinds of interpretation. But Vyasa, who is the author of one of the most definitive commentaries on Yoga Sutra, actually with two words, I would say casts a very clear light on what yoga is. And these two words are simply this: yoga, samadhi. And he repeats this two-word sentence 40 times in his commentary. So again and again and again and again it comes up that yoga is transcending. Yoga is transcending. It's not the shoulder stand, not fasting, not this or that, but it's transcending. And that's the essence of the whole thing, that it's not something that you do, it's something that you are.
Hello everybody and welcome. Today I'm speaking with Dr. John Bright and Dr. Daniel Powell, two Vedic scholars who will be leading a very special in-residence course on the Maharishi Patanjali's Yoga Sutras and chapters 1 to 10 of the Bhagavad-Gita. The course will take place from the 9th till the 23rd of August at the Maharishi Purusha campuses in West Virginia, USA and Ubersfelde, Germany. Over 2 weeks, participants will dive deep into these timeless texts with Maharishi Mahesh Yogi's commentary, combining profound knowledge with direct experience through group meditation and TM City program. In this conversation, we'll get to know John and Daniel a little better, hear what makes this course unique, and explore their reflections on a few of their favourite verses from each text. If you'd like to learn more or register, you'll find a link in the description below. Okay, so let's begin by getting to know you both a little bit. So Dr. John, if that's okay, if we start with you, could you share a little bit about yourself, including what first drew you to this path of Vedic knowledge and what's kept you inspired along the way?
Well, thank you, Joel, and hi, Daniel. I've been in this a long time. I think I started TM in 1968, and very early on, somehow I was drawn to reading Maharishi's translation and commentary on the Bhagavad-Gita, and the way he talked about the meaning of the verses for me was just so simple and direct, and deeply seemed to uncover truths of life that resonated with me. So later on in my career in the TM world, I began to memorize some of the Bhagavad Gita in English. Others have done it in English and in Sanskrit. I never learned Sanskrit, so I couldn't do that. But in that memorization process, then those verses would just kind of be companions in the course of daily life. And somewhere in the early 70s, people asked me to start a weekly Bhagavad Gita reading group, which I began to do. And since that time, I've been in at least one Bhagavad Gita reading group every week for all those years. And what that does is it just allows you to see how amazing this document is, this ancient document of a conversation between an enlightened person and a really evolved person, but someone not yet enlightened. So, Joel, maybe that's a start, and if you have other questions, you can ask. Otherwise, we can hear from Daniel and just continue.
Yeah, love to hear from you, Daniel, now and your journey.
Yeah, thanks, Joe. Well, I was not in this world in 1968,
You're a young guy.
but I also started TM quite at a quite early age. I was 14 when I learned,
Oh boy.
and being a kind of like intellectually oriented person, um, and in it's interesting because I was in a situation where it's Eastern Europe. We at the time we didn't have internet. It was the early 90s. We didn't have access to books in Hungarian. We didn't have access to books in English either. And I was just hungry for knowledge, and all these little bits of knowledge that I had, I was extremely grateful for. And I was 19 years old. I just started college when one friend of mine who was a student at MIU at that time came home during the summer and gave me the Gita in English.
Mhm.
You know, immediately it became my favorite book. And I read it and reread it, and someone asked me if you were to go to a completely desolated island and they allow you only to take one book, what would it be? And without any hesitation, I said, "Oh, the Gita, Maharishi with Maharishi's commentary." And I also started to memorize some verses from the Gita in English and also in Sanskrit, because at that time the Gita inspired me to start learning Sanskrit. And while at university, I started learning Sanskrit. Um, and so to put it briefly, the Gita has been my companion for 30 years. I'm still really fascinated by discovering newer and newer gems in this ocean of wisdom. And it's so amazing that it's only 700 verses, but as Maharishi says, it's the pocket edition of the entire Vedic literature. And there is a verse in Sanskrit which actually says that the Upanishads are like all the cows of knowledge, and Arjuna is the calf, and Krishna is the cow. And the wise person who reads the Gita is like someone who milks this cow that contains the essence of all the knowledge of the Upanishads and all the Veda, and he enjoys this. In Sanskrit, it's Duktham Gita Mritam Mahat, which says this great uh, milked nectar from the Gita,
Mm.
basically. And so this nectar that Maharishi beautifully interprets us for this modern age, for this modern people that we are, that's one beautiful aspect of the Gita. And I think that the other is that Maharishi gave us this key, this master key that he calls transcending and transcendental meditation, that provides us a key for understanding the entirety of the Gita. Because some people say that, oh, it's about action, it's about devotion, it's about religion, it's about philosophy. But Maharishi makes this whole thing so simple and so beautiful. So most likely that's the reason why I was and becoming a student of philosophy and then earning a degree in Indian philosophy at university. Still, this Gita and with the translation and commentary by Maharishi remain with me and stay with me throughout the years.
This makes me,
Beautiful.
hearing you, Daniel, makes me makes me want to take this course that you and I are going to give. Very beautiful. Very
Me
beautiful.
too. Yeah, I just wondered if I'd love to hear both of you. Um, One teaching from the Gita throughout your years of being in contact with it that really became real and relevant in your life and enabled you to overcome some sort of challenge, or if you have any examples to mind, that I'd love to hear.
Go ahead, Daniel.
Okay.
There's so many to limit ourselves
That's
to
the
one or
thing. That's the thing that you can't. It's very difficult to pick one
Yeah.
because there are at least 700 gems in the Gita. But as you will see on the course, when you come and attend, that even within one verse, there are sometimes several gems. So that's the beauty of this teaching, and also what Maharishi does in the appendix of the Gita, that he shows that each verse contains the essence of all the six systems of Indian philosophy. So often with one word or with an expression, there is a teaching on some aspect of philosophy. So it's extremely difficult just to pick one because there are so many. There are so many of these verses. But
Daniel, if I could just interrupt, one other point is that the wisdom that we're sort of drinking from the Bhagavad-Gita also is highly dependent on what Maharishi says about the verse.
oh yeah, definitely.
And so often that's, we really extract that deepest wisdom in his commentary. But go on with your verses.
Yes, because it's often Maharishi's commentary that sort of like unlocks that gem, or that kind of wisdom hidden in the Gita. So what comes to my mind is actually the second verse from chapter 7. Because it shows that this is really the essence of everything. And it says that I shall declare to you without reserve this knowledge combined with experience, knowing which there remains nothing else to be known here. And this is actually everything, because it shows that the Gita gives that transcendental level of knowledge, that fundamental level of existence, the knowledge of the self, the knowledge of the unified field, knowing which there is nothing else that can be known or to be known. Knowing this, you will know everything. Knowing the self, you will know everything. And also, it adds that this knowledge is combined with experience. So it's not something that the Gita or Maharishi wants to teach us a philosophy or a worldview or any dogma or doctrine or religious tenets or anything. This is knowledge that's combined with experience. You will have a direct knowledge, direct experience of these beautiful spiritual truths and gems of the Gita. And furthermore, what Krishna says, I shall declare to you without reserve. So it's not that something he wants to withhold something, that there is a next level, and no, it's only half of that secret or a quarter of it, and you will have to wait a little bit. But the Gita gives us everything, the real thing, the whole thing, as Gurudev would say. And that's it. So I like this verse very, very much, and I could pick anyone. But please share your gem with us, Raju John.
Yes, please, John.
Well, Daniel, I want to comment on your choice on that particular verse. When I work in teaching TM and leadership principles from the Bhagavad Gita with leaders, mostly in business. And a question I ask them sometimes is, if a magic genie were to appear in front of you and grant any wish that you have, what would your wish be for? And it reminds me of when we were kids and we would play that game. What would you wish for if you could have anything? And there would always be one kid who would say, well, I would wish that anything I wished for, I could have. And so that's what that verse is doing. And what I'm hoping that these leaders will recognize is that if they pursue consciousness, growth of consciousness, then everything else that they could possibly desire will come from the fulfillment of that one desire. So I love the verse that you chose. There are two verses that have been really meaningful to me. One is chapter 4, verse 34. And I remember on my teacher training course, someone pulled me aside and said, "Look at this verse, John." And so I went home and read it, and it said, "Know this." So it's almost like a commandment from Krishna. This is what you need to know. Through homage, repeated inquiry, and service, the men of knowledge who have experienced reality will teach you knowledge. And so seeing that, I realized, boy, we are so fortunate to have this man of total knowledge who clearly, being around Maharishi, you could feel that he had experienced reality fully. And reading what he had written and hearing what he said, he seemed to know everything, just the way it seemed. And he seemed to be able to satisfy the questions of people who were scientists and other people who were business people and other people who were average people or athletes or fishermen or moms or children. It didn't matter what direction you were coming from or how deep or complex the question might be. Maharishi would have an answer which would satisfy that person and everybody else who was listening. That knowledge of knowledge is, I think, the way to think of it. The knowledge of how we know is so profound that you just want to sit there and drink. So that verse to me was really the one that first captured my attention. The other one that I find in teaching Bhagavad-Gita that's very uplifting and in a kind of a playful way, the one that says, even if you were the most sinful of all sinners, you would cross over all evil by the raft of knowledge alone. So that knowledge that Daniel was referring to, meaning the understanding of reality, when you combine that with the experience of consciousness, the experience of transcending, the experience of one's own inner self, those two things going together, that's what knowledge is. And it's able to eliminate all the past impressions, all the past stress, whatever, mountains of memory we have from the past. This one single experience, accompanied with the understanding of it, will take one, through all of that baggage to a state of being free from stress and free from limitation. So that's the other verse that I like very, very much.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you both for sharing that. Those verses really beautiful. You mentioned just before we came on, Dr. Daniel, about the verse or like the commentary from Vyasa. I'd love to hear about that because that's obviously another part of this course that we're talking about, the Yoga Sutras and Bhagavad-Gita course in August. So I'd love to also hear that if that's okay.
Yeah, sure. It's interesting because speaking about the Yoga Sutra, it's a different genre of literature than the Gita. It's the Gita is a song. Gita means a song, the divine song or the song of the divine, and it's written in metric verse. It's poetry, actually, and it's interesting because much of the Vedic literature was written in poetry, in poetic form, and interestingly for us, even much of the scientific literature, like Ayurveda or grammar or other pieces of knowledge, were written also in metric poetry. And another form of expression was sutra. And sutra is like a thread, or it's like a guiding line, actually, that helps us through understanding or knowing that aspect of Vedic knowledge. And so sometimes these sutras are very terse, and they are not elaborated much on. And this is why they need commentaries. And the Yoga Sutra, according to tradition, was seen by the sage Patanjali. And several commentaries have been added to it to help understand the essence of it. And, throughout the centuries, many great yogis and teachers and philosophers, and later on modern scholars, tried to uncover the essence of the Yoga Sutra. And Maharishi, as we know, has a very special understanding on yoga, which is different from many of the mainstream modern teachers, that he traces the essence of yoga back to transcendence. And he says that the essence of yoga is transcending, and this is it. And when we see the first, or actually the second sutra, Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha, which means basically the yoga is transcending the activity, the fluctuations of the mind. And Nirodha, some people say stopping or restraining, or just interpreting it with a very strainful practice, or concentration and all sorts of things, which Maharishi doesn't really advocate. So many of these teachers come up with many different kinds of interpretation. But Vyasa, who is the author of one of the most definitive commentaries on Yoga Sutra, actually with 2 words, I would say casts a very clear light on what yoga is, and it supports Maharishi's understanding in 200%. And these 2 words are simply this: yoga, samadhi. And he repeats this 2-word sentence 40 times in his commentary. So again and again and again and again it comes up that yoga is transcending. Yoga is transcending. It's not the shoulder stand, not fasting, not this or that, but it's transcending. And that's the essence of the whole thing, that it's not something that you do, it's something that you are. It's on the level of being, it's on the level of transcending, it's on the level of just going beyond all sorts of thought, thinking and activity and everything. So that's the quote by Vyasa that I wanted to share with you.
That's exquisite. Absolutely
Isn't it
exquisite.
beautiful?
And I think you're addressing something, Daniel, that everyone should be reminded of. People who will be on our course have all taken the TM City program.
Yes.
And when I took the TM City program in 1976, 77, Maharishi had us read that. Are you reading the Mukherjee translation? Is that the one that you were referring to with the Vyasa commentary, Daniel?
I think it's a more recent translation that also I have several editions. The edition that I have also has Shankara's commentary in it.
I see. Okay. Well, he had us read the Yoga Sutras with
Uh-huh.
multiple commentaries. We must have read it in the course of our 6-month
Uh-huh.
training. We must have read it 4 or 5 times.
Oh, uh-huh.
But he felt that it was valuable,
Uh-huh.
siddhas, to see this I would say, impeccable logic, which breaks down step by step, sutra by sutra, how the mind works, how the mind gets into trouble when it forgets its source, when it has lost the experience of samadhi. And so, as you said, the first chapter just delineates just beautifully. Here's what yoga is. Here are the other states the mind can be in, all these, memory and sleep and dream and these sorts of things. And it's we had a course on the Yoga Sutras where all we did was what you and I are going to do in this upcoming course was just read it and then supplement our reading with videos by Maharishi, where he's really giving us that essence. But just to give a feeling of this kind of logical progression, I'm looking at the chapter on practice, which is the second pada, the second chapter in the Yoga Sutras. And he says the purpose of yoga is to cultivate samadhi, just as you were saying, and to weaken afflictions, the causes of suffering. Then the next verse says, the causes of suffering are ignorance, individuality, attachment, aversion, and clinging to life. And then, just as Maharishi has explained to us in very great detail, ignorance is the source of the others. Ignorance is perceiving the non-eternal as eternal, the impure as pure, suffering as happiness, and the non-self as self. So, that's such a really clear breakdown of what happens when we transcend and what happens when we practice the TM City program. We take something that is the non-self, a mantra or a sutra, and we experience it finer and finer and finer, and then we gain that state of samadhi, which then erases that condition of ignoring consciousness, ignoring ourself, and deliver us into the experience of yoga. The system is so tight and simple and easy and extraordinary.
That's beautiful. Thank you very much, both of you. You both really gave a real glimpse into what people may experience on this course, like that kind of discourse in between on these verses, and yeah, that's a really beautiful demonstration of that. Do you have
It
any
would
other
be nice
verses
to,
that you feel going, Daniel?
sorry, if I may add one thing, and
Yeah.
which would be very valuable for all those people who are interested in this course, that on this course, it's a rounding course. So there will be ample time for the people to have a direct experience of samadhi and long practice of the Yoga Sutras and the siddhis. So it's not simply an intellectual course, it's a rounding course with long rounds, and it gives enough time. And all of you who have been on such courses, you might recall this experience, something that I've had several times, and I'm definitely sure that Raja John and also Joa, you can kind of support me in this, that you go through a Maharishi video, you read the Gita, you read the Yoga Sutras, and then you sit down and have some experience about that knowledge. And then again, something comes up, and again, you experience it. Somehow it's divinely orchestrated that it gives something. So this is the value of these courses, that it gives you the direct experience, knowledge and experience, as the Gita said. So that's the value of such courses.
And commenting another step in that, Daniel, is that when we're meditating together, it's more powerful. We know that.
Yeah.
So both in West Virginia and you'll be in Udem,
In Ubisfelde.
Ubisfelde. In both places, there'll be groups of men. So that group aspect of program will be really strong. And that's another thing that really allows the knowledge to unfold in the most easy way, is that it's not just you and I talking to people. Everybody is really contributing and asking questions and bringing up their own insights. And that propels the understanding aspect in ways that just reading Bhagavad-Gita or Yoga Sutras by ourselves never unleashes that kind of level
Yeah.
of depth of understanding.
Yeah. It's a very conducive atmosphere. It's a very conducive environment that one can experience only if one is in such a group. And it's with being with Purusha, also it's always the purest experiences in meditation that one can have.
People that come to West Virginia say that they've never been in an environment quite so powerful and pure and restful and exquisite as what they encounter when they come there. Also, we'll be having these videos of Maharishi. So that'll be another, extraordinary component of this particular course where Tade and Giorgio and Joel have really gone through the very best possible talks that he's given on Yoga Sutras and perhaps some on Bhagavad-Gita as well.
Beautiful, thank you. Yeah, it's a very complete course, I think, and even people that have read the Gita for years or the Yoga Sutras, like I feel like there's still value for these people, like because as you said, it's knowledge and experience, and we're discussing, and we've got tapes as well, so it's a very complete experience. Yeah, I wonder if Daniel, you could tell us a little bit about the campus in Oberstfelde as well for people that haven't been there before.
Oh, very nice experience. It's not a, big campus, but it's very comfortable, uh, kind of nice environment. You can say it's a rural environment.
Mm.
Um, the atmosphere is very settled, very spiritually charged, I would say. And also, it's nice that, there is a group of Purusha there who do long program. And it's for me, it's always like, uh, it's such a funny thing that, maybe it's a very personal thing, but maybe it's something that helps people who have never been to Purusha, or who are just wondering why it's good to go to Purusha. I once tried to explain that if you want to take up surfing and you start doing it on a lake nearby, it's one level. Then you go to the sea, and it's another level. And then when you go to, those very special places like, I don't know, in California or Australia, where there are these huge waves and where the best surfers are, it's something like that. That atmosphere provides you the best, environment for surfing the waves of consciousness.
That's very attractive. That pulls us.
Yes, absolutely. Um, yeah, thank you both for your time here, going through all this. Yeah, we'll leave with some closing thoughts. What do you both hope that people, attendees of this course, like, will take away from this course?
Fly high. I mean, when people leave any course, it's you just feel yourself as if you're driving away, or you're in someone who's driving, and you get to the plane, and then you fly back to where your home is, or you drive back to where your home is. The whole experience is that you're on a different plane of existence when we leave a course. And this one that this summer in August, I know the same men are coming back to West Virginia, many of them who've been there now for 3 years. And it's just like an amazing brotherhood where that the depth of one's own inner self is just there on the surface, with laughter and ease and friendliness. And it's a very special thing being together, and then how that sets us up for the following months when we go back to wherever we live and do whatever we do.
Beautiful. Do you have anything else to add to that, Daniel?
The fact that these people return, I think, shows that they enjoyed the course. And their dedication to the knowledge is shown by returning year after year. And there are some course participants who started to actually bring their friends and fellow siddhas and governors. And also, I think it's for me, and most likely also for Raja John, it's very inspiring to see that some real transformation is going on within these people. And believe me or not, it's also a very transforming experience for us course leaders.
Very
And
much.
there is this saying that you can learn a lot from your professors. You can learn even more from your colleagues, fellow teachers, but you can learn the most from your students, because through teaching, through going through the knowledge, through putting it into words again and again and again and again, that knowledge just goes through you and purifies you and transforms you and lifts you up. So this is why I also cherish this periods of time in August when I can, go to Oebisfeld and hold these courses, because it's also a very, very transforming experience for me.
And Daniel, as you're speaking, I'm relishing the thought that each afternoon in West Virginia, evening in Oberstfelder, we will be together. The course will be connected, and you and I will get to chat and say hi, and everybody says hi, and it's a cross-Atlantic flow of consciousness and knowledge. It's
which is really beautiful. Actually, and it's thanks for bringing it up, Raja John, because it's really great that you are sitting in Europe and they are sitting in the U.S., and it's beautiful to share thoughts, share ideas, and there is one group with certain kinds of insights, certain kinds of mindset, so to say. And there are those people, on the other shore of the Atlantic, who have some completely different ideas and different perspectives or different insights into the knowledge. So it adds a lot. It adds a
and
lot.
maybe one of these days we can figure out how to do it all together in one place. That
Who
should
knows?
be one of our goals. Yeah.
In India or in Nepal or somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even right now, Joel is in Nepal, so
Yeah.
Yeah.
be connected across 3
Yeah.
continents.
I feel like this will be a great venue for that if you plan to meet in the middle somewhere.
Yeah.
Yes. And yeah, so do you have any final words? We mentioned about like people coming on regular basis year after year. But do you have any words for somebody maybe that's a Siddha that just completed the Siddhi program that are thinking about getting involved with Purusha? Do you have any words for them?
Go ahead, Daniel.
Well, I think, there is always more. There is always more. And Maharishi says that life grows towards more and more. And if you feel that, you are satisfied with your city program. You are satisfied with the knowledge you've already had and gained. I'm here to assure you that there are definitely higher levels of growth. And this course is something truly beautiful. This can give you a next level, an experience of knowledge, intellectual knowledge, insight into the Vedic literature, into Maharishi's thinking, into Maharishi's understanding of the Vedic literature, specifically the Gita, specifically the Yoga Sutras. And in this very beautiful, conducive environment and atmosphere of the Purusha group, it will definitely take you on a higher level in your city's experience. So if you feel the calling, if you feel the inspiration, please come, please experience this course, please experience this beautiful knowledge, and this will be an experience for your life. I'm definitely sure about it.
Daniel, you've inspired me.
Thanks.
That's totally awesome.
I was just looking at you and trying to be as inspiring as possible, you know. There is this saying, actually, to be inspired is great, but to inspire is awesome.
Well, you've inspired us.
I'm so happy that I could do that.
You know, I think as you were speaking again, it triggered a little memory for me of a phrase Maharishi used to use sometimes. He would say, pounce like a tiger in many directions. So if those listening to this video are sitting at home, even without some great desire to go on a course, but just maybe some passing fancy, just take hold of that fancy and pounce, because our experience is that whenever we sort of go for knowledge, then the return on that investment is beyond what we are able to imagine before we make the investment. Before, it's all on the level of our imagination. Oh, what will I get, or what will it be like? But once we take that step and take that deep dive, then the outcome it's just incomparable. So we look forward to doing that all together this summer.
Beautiful. Yeah. Thank you both for your time and discussing these points. And yeah, you've really inspired me and probably other people too. If you've been inspired by this conversation, the upcoming in-residence course on the Maharishi Patanjali Yoga Sutras in chapters 1 to 10 of the Bhagavad-Gita will be held from the 9th till the 23rd of August at the Maharishi Purusha campuses in West Virginia and Uberswalde in Germany. You'll find a link in the description below with more details if you want to find out any more, and you can also register on that website. Feel free to share this video with anybody that you might feel would benefit from this discussion, and thank you very much for watching, and we hope to see you at an upcoming course soon.